Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today we are going over the top 20 best car brands, in my opinion. These is obviously all subjective. These aren't like technically the best, they're not technically the fastest or the most reliable. It's just my personal favorite top 20 car brands. So if your car brand doesn't make it on here, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, but it's my opinion. We all have our own opinions, and that's what makes us special, man, okay? It's human beings, okay? Really quick before we get into the video, over 80% of you guys are not subscribed. I really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. You know, it's February of 2023. It's a good month to subscribe. I feel like that's a great month to subscribe, so hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get right into the video with number 20. All right, so coming in at number 20 is actually going to Volkswagen, which Volkswagen, you know, their main car is the GTI, but they also do have some other cars out there that are a little spiffy. They have the Scirocco, the Corrado, the Beetle. So those are all pretty, the bus. The bus is pretty spiffy, not gonna lie. But the main thing about Volkswagen with me, the reason why it's all the way down here at number 20, is just like I feel like they don't do enough. Like they have a good, like the GTI is a solid car, but like they could do so much more with that. Like it's always sitting around 250 horsepower. It's decent. Like, it's not anything groundbreaking, though. Volkswagen has never done anything groundbreaking. However, coming in at number 19 is a company that did do something groundbreaking, but then they just, you know, kind of gave up on it all. It is Mazda. They, obviously, the most famous cars are the Miata and the RX line, like the RX-7, RX-3, RX-8. And the RX line with the rotary engines, that was groundbreaking. That was super cool. And then they just got rid of them. And nowadays, they literally only have the ND Miata, and I cannot give, like, a good position to a company that has one car that's somewhat cool. Like the ND Miata, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a cool car, but nothing like groundbreaking and cool and amazing. And they used to have that with the RX-7. Like you guys know, the FD RX-7 is my dream car. If I could have one car in the world, it would be an FD RX-7. I love them more than anything in the world. But that doesn't make the company better than the rest. Coming in at the number 18 spot is going to Mercedes-Benz. I actually feel like I don't talk about Mercedes-Benz enough on my channel because I usually do budget car videos for like car guys, and Mercedes-Benz doesn't really make cars for car guys. I feel like they got the AMG line, they got really cool supercars like the AMG GT, the SLS AMG, the Mercedes SLR McLaren. Those are all really cool. But then on top of all that, though, they don't offer manual transmissions in any of their cars anymore. They used to back in like the 90s, but not anymore. And it kind of sucks. If they started doing that again, you know, they'd probably be higher up on my list. They'd be more like for car guys. But right now, I just kind of feel like they're for people that are like pretentious rich guys. Coming in at number 17 is going to the first of the big three with Ford. Ford is my least favorite of the American cars, but they're still, trust me, obviously really cool. They do have the Mustang. The Ford Escort, in my opinion, is so underrated. The Focus and all their trucks are obviously pretty cool. But the main thing is the Ford GT. I loved the old Ford GTs, and I think the reason why the Ford is so low is because the new Ford GT to me is just such a disappointment. I know I'm probably an outlier there, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. But for some reason, dude, I just don't like the old the new Ford GTs at all. Like the old GT40 was a legend, and then the one came out in like the 2000s, and that was beautiful, one of the best cars Ford's ever made. And then the new one is just like it's got a Raptor motor in it. It's nothing great, and it's kind of upset me. Number 16, however, is going to the wonderful company of Subaru. Subaru is like a company that's like almost like you either love them or you hate them. And I'm kind of right in the middle. They make obviously the WRX STI, the BRZ is a really famous one. A couple of underrated ones like the Forester, Outback, the Subaru Brat is an underrated one. But none of them are really like eye-catching besides the WRX, if I'm being honest. And yes, the WRX is really cool and it's a rally car. It's an amazing rally car, one of the best rally cars of all time. But it's just not enough, in my opinion, to bring it up any higher. They just need to add like one or two more cars into their lineup that are like legendary, and they'd be doing good. Coming in at number 15 is going to the first supercar brand of this list with the wonderful company of Pagani. Pagani really only has two big car names in the world, and that's Huayra and Zonda. But both the Huayra and Zonda are very, very, very cool cars. Obviously, if Pagani had a little bit more of a stronger lineup, they'd be a lot higher. But they literally have two cool cars, and that's about it. They are coming out with a new one pretty soon, which looks pretty cool. But besides that, they only have those two. On top of that, everybody like raves about Pagani's interior. They say like their interior is amazing. Whenever I look at their interior, I actually hate it. It looks like a Transformer and it does not look good to me at all, but that's my opinion. Coming in at 14 is another supercar company, technically, but some people, I guess you can call them luxury cars. It's Aston Martin. Very underrated brand in my opinion, actually. It's one of my favorite British brands for sure. They have cars like the Vantage, the Vulcan, nowadays they got the Valkyrie and the Valhalla are both super cool cars. Like, they make really cool hypercars, but then even their supercars are a very strong lineup. The only issue with Aston Martin for me, though, is they aren't on the pace of the other supercars. Sadly, like Lamborghini, McLaren, Ferrari, those big boys, they're not as good as them in terms of performance stock. But they sacrifice performance for luxury, and in my opinion, I don't really care about luxury. But however, I do gotta say Aston Martin does make some beautiful looking cars. Coming in at 13, however, is going to the second of the big three with Dodge. I do like Dodge significantly better than Ford, and that's because I feel like Dodge stuck to their roots, while as Ford kind of just started becoming like a sellout company. Dodge has the Challenger, the Charger, the Viper, which is amazing, and then they obviously all have their trucks. They are discontinuing a lot of those very soon, but I mean, car companies discontinue cars all the time, and they bring them back anyway, so not really too worried about that. But either way, Dodge at least will like be like, hey, like they would never, I don't think Dodge would ever say, hey, here's a new Challenger, and then give us an electric SUV like Ford did. Like, that's just a big middle finger, and I like Dodge for that. They stick with their guns. They have huge V8s, naturally aspirated V8s that make huge horsepower, and it's just amazing. Now, obviously, yeah, they aren't all naturally aspirated, but they still have that option. Coming in at number 12 is going to the most disappointing car company out there. If this was just like 2010s and above, this would definitely not even be on the list, but it is Mitsubishi. Back in the day, they had things like the Evo, the Eclipse, the Starion, the 3000 GT, the FTO. They had the world by the nutsack, to be honest. And nowadays, they suck. They got rid of the Evo. The Eclipse is still here, but it's an SUV. The Starion isn't here. The 3000 GT isn't here. Mitsubishi has nothing. Mitsubishi literally has nothing for the car guy, and that makes me so mad. But back in the day, though, what they did is luckily enough to carry them to the number 12 spot, in my opinion. Their old cars are legendary. I love the Evo with more than anything. The Eclipse is such a good car. The Starion's pretty cool. 3000 GT is amazing. The Galant. Oh. Coming in at the number 11 spot, just barely missing out of my top 10, is another Japanese car brand with Toyota/Lexus. By the way, for these like Toyota, Nissan, and Honda brands, I am going to include their sister companies. Toyota has obviously the Supra. They got the Celica. They got the IS line, so like the IS 300s, ISF, the LC 500 underrated car, the RCF. They have a great lineup of cars. But the problem with Toyota, the reason why it's not like higher up on my list and better than the other Japanese car brands, in my opinion, is they just don't specifically do it for me. And that's where the whole subjective part comes into it. Yes, I know that Toyota and Lexus do amazing things, but for me personally, I just like the other ones better. So I don't know. Coming in at number 10 is going to probably the most overrated car brand as of right now if you go onto TikTok, with Porsche. Porsche obviously has the 911, which is very cool, and I do gotta say, you know, one of the better GT cars out there. But they also have the Cayman, which is so underrated. The Porsche Cayman is amazing. They also have some really cool SUVs. Like, if I were to get an SUV, I'd probably get a Porsche SUV. But either way, though, like, the 911 is an amazing car. But if you really think about like what Porsche has, they don't really have that much in their lineup. And like, at least for car guys. And even though that, yes, like I said, the 911 is amazing, it's just not enough to bring it up to like higher than the other ones, to be honest. Coming in at the number 9 spot, however, is going to Ferrari. And this one hurts because Ferrari does have like an insane lineup of cars. Almost every Ferrari ever made is a cool car, to be honest. It's the 458 Italia, 812 Superfast for right now. But then back in the day, they had the F40, the F50, the F355. They had some great cars back in the day. They have always been a good like company in terms of making their cars. However, the reason why it's not higher is simply because of cease and desist. They do this thing, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you buy a Ferrari and you modify it and it gets like popular on the internet, they'll send you a letter pretty much telling you that you have to stop or they'll take your car back. And that's ridiculous. On top of that, they have some amazing cars like the 599 GTO. They got the FXXK Evo, but you can't even drive them on public streets. Like, the things that Ferrari does for their customers sucks, and that's the reason why they're not higher. If they let us have freedom with their cars, they'd be a lot higher. Coming in at number 8 is going to Audi. One of my favorite German car brands of all time, obviously. Is a beautiful car brand. They make such good cars. They have things like the S5, the S4, the RS6 Avant, and the R8. However, the only thing that I don't like about Audi is if you, and this is gonna sound like stupid, but if you take away the R8, almost every single like one of their cars kind of looks the same. And I know that's like kind of what they're going for. They're staying within the same styles. The same thing BMW does, the same thing Mercedes does. But with Audi, it's more frequent than others. I obviously still do love Audi. It's number 8 on my list. But I just wish there was like a little bit of a difference between them. Like, the only real difference between like an S6 or RS6 Avant and an RS4 Avant is the length. And that's it. Coming in at the number 7 spot is going to the Honda / Acura brotherhood there. I have an Acura now, the Integra, and I love that little thing. It's fun. But either way, they have obviously some of the most legendary JDM cars of all time, like the NSX, the S2000, the Civic, the Integra. Those are all very huge names. Sadly, Honda and Acura, I feel like, have fallen off within recent years, and I do think they want to come back, and I think they're trying to make a comeback. But they just gotta stick with their roots and realize that people don't want to see these like boring cars anymore. They want to see cars that are cool again, and they're not really doing that. But either way, back in the day, they did enough to earn this number 7 spot, in my opinion. One of the most legendary car brands of all time, period. Coming in at number 6 is going to Ferrari's main competitor, Lamborghini. In my opinion, Lamborghini is 10 times better Ferrari in every way, and not only for the cars themselves, but for the fact that you have the freedom. They have obviously amazing cars like the Huracan, the Diablo is beautiful, the Murcielago is probably one of my favorite cars of all time, besides another one that we'll get into later, and the Aventador. They have obviously such cool cars, but the best part about that is you can modify them. You can modify them, you can do whatever you want with them, you can post them online, and Lamborghini isn't gonna hype it up, but they're not gonna hate you for it. It's your car, they understand that you earned it, you spent your money on it, you can drive your car and do whatever you want with your car, and that makes me like Lamborghini a lot more. Coming in at number 5 is the final of the big 3 with Chevy. Chevy, I'm going to be honest, this is 100% biased. I've always been raised by my dad, who's a big Chevy fan, to like Chevys, but even nowadays, even looking at it from like a car guy standpoint, Chevy just does make the better ones, in my opinion. The LS motor is legendary for a reason, and that's like, that alone is enough to bring it up to this, like the top of the line, but their cars are great. The Camaro, in my opinion, is the most beautiful of the 3 big muscle cars. The Corvette is unbelievably good at racing, has a huge history of racing. Their trucks are amazing trucks, in my opinion. In their classic lineup too, like if you go back in the day with all their cars that they had in the past, their Chevelles, El Caminos, they had it stacked. Coming in at number 4 is going to my favorite supercar brand of all time, period, with McLaren. Oh my god, McLaren's cars are works of art, in my opinion. They have cars like the 720S, beautiful. The P1 is literally my favorite car in the world. Like, how I said before, if I could have any car in the world, it would be the FD-RX-7. Well, I only have the FD-RX-7 as my dream car because it's actually attainable. But if you're talking like actually any car in the world, then the P1 is my favorite. The F1 is still to this day the fastest naturally aspirated car in the world. It's obviously a legend. They now have the Senna. McLaren never misses. They've never once missed, and they have nothing but cool cars in their lineup, and they are amazing. They are damn near perfect. Coming in at 3rd place, however, is going to Nissan / Infiniti, the final one of the big, 3 Japanese brands of Honda, Nissan, and Toyota. Nissan is, in my opinion, my favorite. They have their lineups of cars are just unmatched in terms of the other ones. They have the Z line, the GTR line, the Silvia line. They got the Q series for Infiniti, but they even have cars like Toyota and Mitsubishi and Mazda that are like one-offs, like the Starion, the S whatever they call that, like freaking NX2000. NX, is that what it was? NX200. But you guys know what I'm saying. Like they have cars that the Sentra that they try to like make into lines, but it never really gets there. But they're still cool. And Nissan literally, in my opinion, is like, it's like the Dodge of the Japanese car world. They just don't care anymore, and they just make cars that are actually fun to drive. The reason why I said that McLaren is my favorite supercar brand, and I put emphasis on supercar, is because Koenigsegg is my favorite hypercar brand. Coming in at 2nd place is Koenigsegg. Unbelievable. They have cars, every Koenigsegg ever made is amazing. The Gamera, the Regera, the Agera, the 1-to-1, the Jesko, the CCGT, the new CC8S, or whatever it is that they're calling that new car that's coming out. Every Koenigsegg ever is mind-blowingly cool. And on top of that, you can tell that Koenigsegg actually cares about car guys with like what they do with their cars. They try to like be innovative. Like the new Koenigsegg that's coming out is going to have an automatic, but right next to the automatic transmission is going to be attached to it a 6-speed manual transmission. That's cool. No company's ever done that before, and that's what I love about Koenigsegg. But I'm sure you guys knew it. I talk about them all the time. My favorite car brand of all time is BMW. Instead of telling you like what BMWs are good, it's easier to tell you what BMWs are not good. And here they are. The i line kind of sucks, like their electric line. The i8 in particular sucks. The i3 sucks. And any sort of compact that they've ever made. I don't really like their compacts. Everything else is cool. Everything else BMW has made is cool. Anything. 3 Series, 4 Series, 5 Series, 6 Series, 7 Series, 8 Series, 2 Series, 1 Series. All cool cars. The M1 Pro car, amazing. 3.0 CSL, amazing. M8 comp right now that they got, amazing. M6, underrated as hell. 6 Series is underrated. Cool line. M5 CS is the fastest sedan in the world right now. M3 is amazing. They have everything you could ask for in a car stuffed into one package. If you want reliability, you go with one of their base models or lower trim levels with an inline four, and you don't got to worry about it. And it's going to be cheap and reliable, but it still has a decent level of interior. But if you want the performance models, you go for the M line. They're not going to be as reliable, but they're fast now. If you want luxury, you go for the 7 Series or the 6 Series or the 8 Series. It's going to be more expensive, yeah, but you're getting more luxury. They have everything. BMW is, in my opinion, the best car brand of all time, period. On top of that, like when you look at like a sports car, what do you think? You think of rear-wheel drive with a manual transmission, right? Well, Mercedes offers rear-wheel drive, but they don't offer a manual transmission. Audi offers manual transmission, but they don't offer rear-wheel drive. BMW has both, and that's what makes me love BMW so much more than like anything else out there. I just think they genuinely make the best cars, for my personal opinion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of my personal top 20 favorite car brands of all time. These do kind of change like all the time, to be honest. Like tomorrow, McLaren could come out with another car that bumps them up a couple spots. Now they're better than Koenigsegg, in my opinion. Koenigsegg could release a car that I hate and it drops them down a couple spots. But as of right now, this is my personal top 20 list. I would like to know, what is your favorite top 3? You don't have to do all your top 20. If you want to do your top 20, you absolutely can, but you don't have to. But your top 3 favorite car brands of all time, in order from the worst to best. I would love to know what you guys are enjoying. I know that I have a lot of Honda guys on this channel, so I'm sure Honda's going to be a little bit higher than the most, but either way, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. In the top of the description is going to be a comment, or in the top of the comment section, it's going to be a comment to my other gaming channel where I strictly go over Grand Theft Auto Online content. If you want to check that out, I'd really appreciate it. And das Vidania, have a nice night.